In the glittering cavern of the Harrow family's final Christmas ball, beneath chandeliers swaying like frozen constellations, Lady Eliza Harrow stood on the edge of a dream collapsing. Her gown, borrowed and carefully mended, shimmered with the faint defiance of hope, while violins soared through the winter air. Yet in that grand room where laughter spilled like champagne, her heart drummed with a quiet terror. This night might be her last chance to secure a future for her mother. Lord Pembroke bowed with a stiffness that spoke more of duty than charm. His eyes, pale, calculating, skimmed the ballroom before returning to her with a smile that never touched them. Eliza's pulse fluttered, not with affection, but determination. "My lord," she said, voice gentle yet fragile, "you honor me." His arm guided her to the center of the floor. As they turned beneath the shimmering lights, she sensed something shifting. Lord Pembroke's jaw tightened. With each rotation he seemed to recoil, as though proximity to her threatened him. "Eliza," he murmured, too softly for others to hear, "I fear tonight must mark the end of our acquaintance." Her step faltered. I beg your pardon." He exhaled, full of dismissive regret. "We both know your family's circumstances. You have no dowry. I cannot tether myself to ruin." Heat surged up her throat. "There were promises," she whispered. He smiled with a predator's pity. "Promises made beneath mistletoe are not binding contracts, Lady Harrow." And with that, he stepped away. A single break in the dance formation rippled outward. Couples paused, gazes drawn like magnets to her disgrace. Whispers slithered through gilded air. "She has nothing left." What did she expect? Eliza's vision blurred. The world spun without grace, the violin screeching instead of singing. People she once called friends avoided her eyes, letting her humiliation stain the night like spilled wine. Her mother, across the room, noticed too late. By the time she pushed through the crowd, Pembroke had already turned his back, offering his hand to a younger, richer heiress. Eliza stood alone beneath falling snow of crushed reputations. Then, movement. A tall shadow parted the sea of silk and arrogance. The Duke of Ashbourne, Adrian Blackwell, widower, recluse, and the subject of every scandalous whisper in London. His dark attire contrasted sharply with the festive finery. He wore grief like a second coat. Women watched him with trembling fascination, men with wary respect. No one spoke to him unless summoned. Yet he was walking toward her. Eliza forced herself upright, cheeks burning. She would not be pitted again. "Lady Harrow," he said, bowing. His voice, deep, resonant, carried warmth none believed he possessed. "My grace," she managed, unsure why he would approach her. "Lord Pembroke is a fool," he stated, loud enough that the nearest gossips froze. His eyes, storm-gray and focused, held no mockery. "May I have the honor of this dance?" Shock stole her breath. Then she curtsied. "You are most kind." Kind, a word never paired with Adrian Blackwell. His hand enveloped hers, commanding yet careful. As they joined the waltz, the crowd parted in a hush so loud it roared. Their steps aligned with unnatural ease, like two souls remembering a forgotten life. "He did not deserve you," the Duke murmured. "You know nothing of me," she replied softly. "I know what I saw. A cruel man disgracing a lady with more dignity in silence than he could ever muster in speech." Her heart fluttered. Compliments from strangers were dangerous, from infamous dukes, catastrophic. "You must not trouble yourself with my misfortune," she insisted. "Misfortune?" His stare deepened. "Tonight revealed his character, not yours." The orchestra slowed, wrapping them in delicate movement. Eliza found it strangely effortless to meet his eyes, though every instinct warned caution. She had heard the stories, his wife's mysterious death, his locked estate, his vanishing smiles. A man haunted. Still, his presence steadied her trembling heart. "You need not rescue me, Your Grace," she murmured. A ghost of a smile brushed his lips. "Perhaps I needed the dance." Their closeness stirred warmth into her chilled bones. The room faded until only his heartbeat, steady and strong, remained. Something unnamed flickered between them, compelling. The dance ended. Applause burst. They did not move. Eliza blinked, suddenly aware of the entire ballroom observing them with ravenous curiosity. She stepped back, breaking the moment like shattered glass. "Thank you, Your Grace," she said quickly. "I shall not forget it." He bowed but lingered, as though debating whether to speak again. A sharp nod of self-restraint concluded his hesitation. "I wish you peace tonight," he said, voice low, almost regretful. Then he turned and walked away. Eliza watched him disappear into the hall's flickering shadows, uncertainty crawling across her ribs. Had she imagined the flicker of vulnerability behind his composed mask? The murmurs intensified. Why would he choose her? Is he already searching for a replacement? Every word sliced into her. Her mother reached her, breathless. "Darling, are you well? We must." "No," Eliza answered, smoothing her skirt with trembling fingers. "They may take our fortune, but they shall not witness our surrender." Yet beneath her poise, her heart was chaos. A man she should fear had shown her more kindness in one dance than any suitor had offered in years. Snow whipped against towering windows, restless. Servants moved uneasily near the doors, glancing toward the swirling night as if expecting disaster to step inside at any moment. A draft rolled through the ballroom, fluttering ribbons and dimming candles, a shiver of omen. But Eliza's gaze remained fixed on the entrance where the Duke had vanished. A pulse of longing, unwelcome and undeniable, echoed through her. She felt the echo of his touch linger like fire beneath her gloves, a reminder that something had irrevocably changed between them already. Because in that moment, she realized something dangerous. The Duke of Ashbourne had looked at her not with pity, but recognition. And recognition could ruin her more thoroughly than any rejection ever could. Eliza's breath trembled in the cold morning air as she stepped through the towering wrought-iron gates of Blythemore Hall. Snow lay like unbroken silk over the grounds, disturbed only by the crisp wheel tracks of the Duke's waiting carriage. Black ravens perched along the high stone wall, their watchful eyes following her approach as though they knew she'd tread toward a decision that would alter the course of her life. The footman wordlessly opened the grand doors. Warmth and polished elegance flooded outward. Rosewood, aged wine, burning cedar, all far grander than anything she had ever known. Eliza lifted her chin, willing herself to appear as though she belonged here, as though the world had not just laughed at her misfortune. Inside, the Duke stood beside the roaring hearth, a figure cut cleanly from shadows and firelight. His posture was impeccable, his expression unreadable. Only his eyes, storm-colored and restless, betrayed the truth. He wished to be anywhere but here. "You came," he said simply. "Your Grace summoned," she replied, lowering into a graceful curtsy. He motioned for her to rise. "Summoned may be too forceful a word. I requested your time." Eliza was not fooled. A duke did not request. A duke commanded the tides of society, and they obeyed. She removed her gloves one fingertip at a time, stalling. "Your Grace mentioned a proposition." He studied the fire rather than her face. "Lady Fairchild seems determined to see me wed." Eliza folded her hands. She knew the Duchess Dowager's reputation, sharp as glass, loyal to lineage above all. She fears Christmas will be the talk of the season if her son remains unwed. "She fears gossip," he corrected softly. "And you would avoid it." "I would mitigate damage." They were speaking of wounds not named. His late wife. Eliza felt the shift in the air, the invisible ghost between them. "You witnessed what happened last evening," he continued. "How swiftly a woman's reputation can be razed open in the ballroom." Her throat tightened. The memory of snickering fans and pitiless eyes burned behind her eyelids. "Yes," she whispered. "Cruelly so." His gaze finally met hers. "I have power enough to make their cruelty irrelevant." "And in return," she breathed. He paused. The fire crackled. Snow tapped against the window pane like impatient fingers. "You will pretend to be my fiancé," he said, "until Christmas concludes." Her hand fluttered to her collar. "Pretend." A charade to soothe damaged pride, his and hers. "It is only for a short time," he said. "You secure a future unmarred by scandal. I secure freedom from meddling hands." It sounded transactional, too clean for the chaos inside her. "And society?" she asked. "They shall see that you were not discarded," he replied. "They shall bow." Pride warred with desperation. The offer glittered like salvation, and yet, "You deserve affection," he murmured suddenly, voice low, rough. "Not this." The word startled her. A moment of unmasked sincerity, gone as quickly as it appeared. He cleared his throat and reached for something on the table. A small velvet box, draped in crimson ribbon. "A token," he said. She hesitated as he placed it in her palm. The velvet caressed her fingertips like a secret. She tugged the ribbon loose, revealing a ring. Delicate gold twisted into the shape of a winter rose, tiny diamonds like frozen dew. "It is beautiful," she whispered. "It will silence them." His voice held an edge, determined, unyielding. She slid the ring halfway onto her finger, then stopped. "If I wear this, the world will believe us in love." His jaw flexed. "Then let them believe." The fire popped like a gunshot between them. A maid appeared in the doorway, clutching a sealed envelope. "Your Grace, this was delivered just now. Marked urgent." He opened it carelessly, then stilled. "What is it?" Eliza asked. He folded the letter quickly, too quickly. "Nothing that concerns you." But his voice had chilled. His knuckles, white. "A secret. A threat. Something dark." She almost asked again, but the Duke turned away, caging his emotions behind an iron spine. "If we proceed," he said, "there will be rules. You must keep to my side during every gathering. You must not ask questions of my household. And you must trust my instruction, without hesitation." "Without hesitation," she echoed, uneasy. "Yes." His tone held the ghost of a warning. "There are matters here that must remain undisturbed." She swallowed. "And if I should refuse?" "Then Lady Hastings will continue her delight in ruining you." He did not soften the truth. "And my mother will continue arranging possible brides like hunting trophies." Silence stretched thin. Her choices had been reduced to 2 cages. Eliza examined the ring again. A fragile bloom of gold that promised rescue and imprisonment. Slowly, she slid it fully onto her finger. His breath, just one, caught. "Very well," she said. "I accept." A flicker of something dangerous crossed his eyes. Not triumph. Relief tinged with fear. He stepped closer, too close, and she felt the heat of him, the command of his presence. "In public," he said quietly, "I will be attentive, devoted, a man impossibly blessed by your affection." "And in private?" Her voice felt smaller, more exposed. "In private," he paused, his gaze lowering to the ring he had given her. "We are 2 strangers preserving our own survival." Her heart sank, though she could not say why. Had she expected warmth, gratitude, hope? A clock chimed again, echoing through the vast hall. The Duke offered his arm. "There is much to prepare." She laid her hand upon his sleeve, the fabric rich beneath her fingertips. His muscles tensed beneath her touch, as though contact itself was a battlefield. They walked together through the gilded corridors of Blythemoor, shadowed by silent portraits of ancestors who seemed to judge every step. When they reached a grand landing, a painting caught her attention. A woman, striking, raven-haired, regarded the viewer with knowing eyes. The late Duchess. Eliza's breath hitched. The resemblance, uncanny. The Duke noticed her stare. "She is gone." Yet his voice trembled. Eliza's heartbeat fluttered like wings trapped in a cage. She traced the painted visage with a hesitant fingertip, startled by the symmetry of features, the same slope of cheek, the same quiet defiance in the eyes. This was no mere resemblance. It was a haunting. Who had she been? The late Duchess, lost to tragedy and rumor. A woman society insisted had perished under suspicious circumstances. A woman whose absence had turned the Duke into an enigma of grief. Eliza stepped back, pulse thundering. Had she just agreed to step into a ghost's abandoned life? To become the replacement rather than the chosen? The candle flickered, casting shadows that distorted the Duchess's familiar face. The room seemed to tighten around her, warning her of a future not yet spoken. She clutched the ribbon, its silk suddenly too smooth, too deliberate. Fear and fate tangled inside her, impossible to unweave. Somewhere beyond the walls, a carriage wheel creaked against ice, as though destiny itself waited outside. Eliza stood motionless, holding her breath as though the slightest exhale might shatter her last scrap of control. She refused to crumble where he could see, yet her spirit frayed with every passing moment. Outside, a clock chimed 8 solemn notes, each toll a reminder of dwindling choices. Tonight, she would deliver her answer. Tonight, her name, her future, and perhaps her heart would be decided. She imagined the world's eyes turning toward her once more, ready to witness either her triumph or her ruin, and fear Eliza had never known silence could feel so alive. Snowfall battered the windows of Blythemore Hall like frantic fingers demanding entry, and candlelight flickered along velvet curtains. The Christmas season, meant for merriment, instead cloaked the estate in a tense quiet, as though the walls anticipated confession. She paused in the corridor, hand resting upon the painted eyes of the late Duchess. Every time she passed the portrait, she felt that uncanny likeness, a mirror with the soul inverted. Tonight, the resemblance felt like a warning. The Duke's summons had been brief. The library, immediately. Eliza steadied her breath and entered. Adrian Blackwell stood beside a towering bookcase, arms folded behind his back, face carved into restraint. Stormlight from the hearth illuminated his profile. Papers lay scattered over the desk, ink smeared by impatience. "You wish to see me?" Eliza said. He didn't turn. "There's something I have withheld from you." Her pulse quickened. "Aside from the nature of our entire arrangement." He exhaled. "I speak of danger." Her fingers curled at her sides. "To whom?" "Us," he answered, finally meeting her gaze. "I must know if you are prepared for scrutiny far worse than whispers at a ball." "I agreed to stand beside you," she reminded. "Yes," he murmured, stepping closer. "But you did not understand what that meant." He hesitated. Then, "My wife. They believe I killed her." Eliza froze. He lifted his chin. "She fell from the balcony outside our chambers. They found me below, blood on my hands. I told them I tried to catch her. They did not believe me." "And what do you believe?" she whispered. "I believe I failed her." His voice fractured. "Her death clings to my name like smoke." Eliza stepped forward, laying a hand over his sleeve. "Truth is not erased by rumor." He stared at her hand, almost disbelieving. "I did not ask for this farce merely to silence society. I asked because I cannot bear their eyes on me alone." "And I," she said, "cannot bear to live invisible." His composure wavered. The firelight caught a softness in him that contradicted every whispered suspicion. He raised his hand toward her cheek, but paused. "I'm not a safe man to love." "That is fortunate," she murmured. "I'm not seeking safety." Emotion surged between them, unspoken, undeniable. Suddenly, darkness swallowed the room. A violent gust extinguished the candles. Snow rattled the panes like teeth. Eliza gasped as shadows surged. "Stay close," Adrian commanded. His arm wrapped around her waist, guiding her to the hearth's glow. Sparks danced across their faces, fear and longing intertwined. Lightning flashed, revealing a figure outside, still, watching. Eliza grabbed Adrian's coat. He followed her gaze. The figure vanished into the storm. His hold tightened protectively. "There is more," he said. "The Dowager has hired an investigator. He digs where wounds are raw." "What will he find?" she asked. Silence became his answer. Adrian looked away. "Some chambers remain locked because they contain memories I cannot yet face. If you wander, you may stumble into grief not meant for you." "I am not frightened by memory," she insisted. "You should be," he said. "The past lies here." A gust forced open the balcony doors. Snow blasted inside. Adrian rushed to secure them. Eliza followed, clutching his coat as wind whipped like angry ghosts. Outside, the notorious balcony. Eliza's skin prickled with dread. "I have not stood here since that night," he confessed. Without thinking, she slipped her hand into his. His fingers intertwined instantly, desperately. "You must promise," he whispered, Whatever happens, you will trust me. I do. He parted his lips to speak, but the library door slammed. A servant stumbled inside, pale, clutching a folded pamphlet. This was delivered to the gate, Your Grace. Urgent. Adrian snatched it, eyes scanning. Color drained from his face. Eliza stepped closer. What is it? He crushed the paper. A threat. One that concerns you now. She held out a trembling hand. Slowly, he let her read. A sketch, crudely inked, depicted a woman falling from a balcony. Beneath it, a single line. The Duke will lose another wife before the new year. Eliza felt the room tilt. Adrian's expression turned lethal. I will protect you. But the storm roared its disagreement. Her heart pounded, reckless and terrified. Someone wants me dead before our vows are even spoken. They want me ruined, he corrected, voice low. You are only the means. Do you know who would send this? She asked. Too many, he confessed. A wronged family. A jealous rival. A secret I have not yet uncovered. His shoulders bowed, burdened by every unanswered question. Eliza reached for him, not out of duty, but instinct. His breath trembled beneath her touch. You think yourself alone in this, she said. That is the lie haunting you. You do not understand what my presence in your life costs, he warned. Then teach me, she insisted. A knock struck the window, sharp, deliberate. They both turned. A handprint stained the frosted glass, fresh, chilling. Eliza's breath caught. Adrian pulled her behind him, shielding her. His voice dropped to a whisper edged with panic. They are he. She swallowed a cry. Who? Snowflakes smeared the glass, distorting the mark into a ghostly smay. The wind howled, drowning the frantic beat of her pulse, yet she could feel eyes fixed upon her through the dark. Adrian's grip tightened as though he feared she might vanish into the storm like the figure before. The library seemed to shrink around them, every shadow poised to strike. Somewhere deep in the hall, a floorboard groaned, slow, purposeful, like a footstep drawing nearer. Eliza's voice barely emerged. We are next. Whoever killed the first duchess was still watching. Eliza's reflection in the ballroom mirror looked nothing like the composed lady she tried to be. Her borrowed gown once shimmered with fragile hope. Tonight, under the weight of watchful eyes and whispered suspicions, it felt like a costume meant to disguise fear. The Christmas Eve gala hosted by the Duchess Dowager of Ashbourne should have been brilliant. Glittering crystal, chandeliers blazing like captured stars, servants weaving through warmth and music. But each candle seemed to flicker with judgment. Tomorrow, she and Adrian would announce their engagement. Tonight, society prowled for any reason to laugh. He stood at her side, tension wound tight in his frame, as if every step toward happiness threatened to shatter beneath his boots. Adrian scanned the guests not with delight, but with dread. Each passing glance, curious, cruel, intrusive, tightened the set of his jaw. You should not fear them, Eliza said softly. I fear what they will do to you, he answered. Her breath caught. His sincerity, unguarded, was more dangerous than any rumor. Before Eliza could respond, Lady Fairchild approached with the poise of a predator. Her gown, emerald silk, sliced through the room like envy itself. What a charming scene, she cooed. The Duke and his newest ornament. Eliza's fingers dug into the Duke's arm. He did not flinch. Careful, Lady Fairchild, Adrian said, voice slow as drawn steel. Your unkindness is embarrassingly transparent. Lady Fairchild's smirk lifted. You believe you can replace a duchess so easily. The last one at least had breeding and grace. The air cracked. Eliza stiffened, humiliation piercing her composure. Adrian stepped closer, shielding her with his presence. You may insult me, but you will respect Lady Harrow. Eliza's heart fluttered with disbelief. She was protected, valued, defended. Something she had not felt in so very long. The orchestra resumed, and the crowd dispersed enough to breathe again. Adrian looked down at her, eyes aching with a secret he still feared to reveal. Would you dance with me? He asked. Yes. His hand found her waist. Her fingers rested against his heartbeat. The music swept them into a world where only their steps existed, brushes of fabric speaking secret poetry. When he drew her closer, she felt the crack in his armor widen, emotions swirling like snow. "Eliza," he murmured, voice trembling, "there is something I must say." She lifted her gaze, breath mingling with his. "Then say it. I cannot pretend indifference any longer. You have become necessary. I wake to thoughts of you. I breathe easier in your presence. You turn every silence into peace." Her chest tightened, radiant and terrified. "Adrian." He leaned his forehead to hers, surrendering a truth he could no longer hide. "I care for you far beyond this pretense." The world vanished. When his lips brushed hers, it was not a kiss born of duty. It burned with longing, fear, a reckless hope neither dared name. The room hushed, stunned by the intimacy of two souls clinging to one another in defiance of the world. Applause did not follow. Instead, a splatter of laughter cracked against them like ice. "Lord Pembroke. Smug. Poisonous. Look, the Duke has found his next victim. How tragic must one be to crave a murderer for a husband?" Gasps. Fans snapping shut, eyes devouring them. Adrian turned, a storm brewed into a man. "Enough." But Pembroke wasn't finished. He threw a folded pamphlet to the floor, its inked headline visible to every guest. His first wife fell. Will his second be pushed? Eliza's breath collapsed. The room spun. She had never been more hated than at that moment. Gossip ignited, a wildfire fed by delight in her destruction. "She is a fortune hunter. He needs a diversion from suspicion." She looked disturbingly like the late Duchess. Adrian reached for Eliza's hand. "Stay with me. Do not listen." But she was already unraveling. "They will destroy you because of me." He cupped her cheek, desperate. "I would weather ruin 1,000 times if it meant keeping you beside me." His devotion, so fierce and raw, might have saved her, if not for the next blow. Lady Fairchild, voice rising over the chaos. "She is penniless. Her family is desperate for salvation. The Duke is a charity project for her." Horror dawned on the faces around them. Eliza's worst secret, stripped bare. Her lungs flooded with shame. Adrian snarled, "You dare." But Eliza tore her hand free. "No more." Her voice cracked through the ballroom like breaking glass. He froze, agony etched into every line of his face. "If I stay," she whispered, "you will lose everything you have left." "I will lose far more if you go," he replied. Snow pelted the windows. The storm outside echoed the one inside her. "Adrian, they believe you killed her," she said. "Now they will believe I drove you to another death." Tears glimmered, but she blinked them back, swallowing every dream she had begun to cherish. "I cannot be the reason your name is destroyed. You are the only reason it lives," he said. She stepped away, one trembling foot after another. "Forgive me." He reached. She turned. His fingers grazed empty air. "Eliza." His voice cracked. She ran. Through gilded doors, down endless staircases, into the winter night swallowing everything warm. Snow blinded her. Wind whipped her hair. The world blurred into white and despair. Adrian barreled outside moments later, calling her name into the storm. Boots sliding on ice, panic hollowing his chest. "Eliza." No answer, only the storm's howl. Then, a scream. Not hers. A figure on horseback galloped from the shadows, cloak whipping, eyes trained on his fleeing bride-to-be. Not a rescuer. A hunter. Adrian stumbled, terror clawing his ribs, and understood he would lose the only reason he fought the shadows of his past. He hurled himself forward, promising the storm he would save her or die in the attempt alive. The church bells tolled across the midnight countryside, singing of Christmas joy, yet inside Evelina's heart a storm raged fierce and uncertain. Snowflakes spun like white confetti upon the wind, collecting on the steps of St. Albans as townspeople poured out, whispering of scandal and triumph all in the same breath. The Duke and Miss Rosewood, betrothed by morning. For love, some scoffed. For necessity, others insisted. All paused when they saw him. The Duke of Ashbourne, tall and unyielding, cloak. Her fingers trembled as she placed them in his. The kiss in the library still burned upon her lips. But now, with all eyes watching, she feared any misstep could ruin not only her heart but his legacy. Inside the waiting carriage, warmed by lantern light and pine wreaths, she struggled to meet his gaze. Christopher saw the hesitation flickering across her features like candlelight. "Do not fear them," he murmured. "Their approval has never fed a single soul in Ashbourne. I would weather every rumor if it meant protecting you." "You speak as though you risk something far greater," she whispered. "Perhaps I am," he replied. "Or perhaps I am finally about to gain everything." The wheels turned, countryside rolling past in silver silence. Evelina pressed her gloved hand to the glass, chasing clarity. Marriage would secure her family's safety, yet her father's hidden debt hung like a chain. She feared the truth would shatter the fragile peace Christopher tried to build for them. "You are willing to sacrifice everything tonight," she said tightly. "Why?" "Because love itself is a risk," he answered softly. "And you make me forget, Faye." Her breath caught. "Do you love me?" He looked away, snowy light carving his profile into something noble and pained. "I do not trust the word, but you make the world less cold." Evelina's heart twisted at the memory of whispered insults hurled at her during the ball. How ladies turned aside their fans as though her presence were a plague upon propriety. How a gentleman smirked that she must have begged the Duke to save her from spinsterhood. Shame clung like sleet, heavy and unrelenting. Yet there had been one moment, when Christopher brushed a tear from her cheek, that she felt seen not as a burden but a treasure. That fleeting warmth now battled the icy dread inside her chest. Silence, heavy, hopeful, settled like a blanket between them. The carriage stopped before Ashbourne Manor, its Gothic turrets rising like a fortress against the night. Torches glowed, footmen hurried. Christopher stepped down first, then lifted her into his arms. He paused, holding her as if the ground might betray her. She dared a glance up and saw a longing etched clear. Inside, evergreen garlands and crimson ribbons adorned the hall. Musicians tuned their instruments. Servants rushed to prepare a feast worthy of a duke's announcement. But the joy dissolved the moment Evelina noticed the figure waiting like a sentinel at the staircase. The Duchess Dowager, cold, elegant, her gaze sharp enough to bruise, surveyed Evelina with undisguised disdain. "So," the Duchess said, voice a blade in silk, "the rumors are true. My son brings home a bride plucked from scandal, and on Christmas no less. How festive." Christopher stepped forward, shoulders squared. "Mother, you will show respect to my future Duchess." "Future?" she laughed, though nothing warm touched her eyes. "You assume too much. The king must approve your marriage, given your position at court. His Majesty has strong opinions about impropriety." Evelina paled. "The king might refuse." "He already has," the Duchess replied. "The crown cannot condone a union tainted by public disgrace." Christopher's fists tightened. "Then he condemns me as well. I created the scandal." "No," Evelina breathed, stomach twisting. "They already believe I trapped you. If the king forbids the match, you could lose everything. I will not allow that." "You have no choice," he insisted, desperation cracking his voice. "I do." She pulled the emerald ring free, its silver band cold against her skin. Pressing it into his palm, she whispered, "Thank you for giving me back my dignity, even for one night." Christopher's breath faltered. She curtsied, a farewell carved from anguish, and turned. Her footsteps echoed painfully across the marble. He surged after her. "Evelina!" The Duchess's hand clamped onto his arm. "Let her go," she commanded. "She is protecting you from ruin." He tore free and stormed outside. Snow whipped against his face as he called her name into the freezing dark. The gates loomed ahead. He spotted her, a small lone figure pushing them open, determined to vanish into the storm. "Evelina!" he shouted, boots slipping on the ice as he ran. "Stay!" She paused, breath a ghost in the wind. "Forgive me," she called. "And forget me." "The world be damned," he cried. "Without you, I have nothing left to lose." She shook her head, tears shimmering. "You deserve a match without shadows." "Without you, I have nothing but shadow, he replied. Their gazes locked beneath the falling snow, two souls trapped by duty and fear. Then she stepped backward onto the road, one trembling heartbeat at a time. Christopher stumbled to his knees, agony ripping through him as the woman who had revived his silent heart disappeared. He remembered how she laughed earlier, a sound soft as bells, how she dared to tease him for his solemnity, how her courage glimmered even when pain hunted her. He could not lose that light. Not again. Not now, when he had only just begun to feel alive. The bells that once sounded like Christmas hope now told a funeral dirge for love. Evelina vanished into the winter storm. But the Duke of Ashbourne, rising slowly with grief turning to fire, swore one vow into the night. Before Christmas dawned, he would find her. He would claim her. He would never let her go again. Love would not end.